Hello and welcome to Pranic Props. Today we're going to learn how to make test tubes out of a basic candy tube that you could find at the store. Anything you could find that would make for a good cap for your test tube, which I found this bubble blower tube, perfect size cap for the candy tubes. You're also going to need a permanent marker for marking your lines, your numbers, a pair of scissors, some tape for making the lines so they're straight, and anything you can find for your ingredients within the tubes. Another item you'll want to find is some scrap wood. So I've got some scrap wood here I've already cut. It's going to be a holder for my 4 test tubes, and we'll get to that later. To begin with, I would take the candy tube and dismantle anything you need from it. Take off any sort of labeling, any sticky residue left over from a labeling, empty out whatever product, unless you want to keep what's in it for your test tube items. But beyond that, all you're looking for is the tube for the test tube. And I recommend a plastic, therefore the permanent marker will adhere to the plastic and it will not wipe off of like a glass test tube. So I recommend the plastic so the marker will adhere, stay there, store away fine, come back out with your numbers and lines all intact. Okay, we are back. Off of camera, what I did is I took my candy tube, I removed the label that was on here. I actually used hot water and soap to remove any adhesive. Sometimes you need adhesive remover depending on how tacky it is. This one wasn't so tacky, so I was able to just take it off pretty much with the warm water. I also found a seam on the tube, so I was able to follow the seam with tape and then spaced as far out as I wanted the lines to be for length. And then I cut the tape in half with the scissors to make the increments between the lines. So now we have increments, and that will help me make straight lines and clean lines with the permanent marker. So we will do that now. You don't even have to be very careful with your lines since it's all taped. They will be straight, very clean with the painter's tape. Another thing I advise is to go over the lines twice. It helps darken the line so it's not so transparent on the plastic, and it just overall adds to a better look. These can be done fairly quickly, and again, it's however long you want the lines, however thick you want them, however many you want. It's your design. So once you get those lines on there, you can pretty much take the tape off immediately. A little bit of marker will come off, but it's not too bad. Just put your tape off to the side. You won't need it again. If you want to try to recycle it for the next tube, but I recommend taping each tube individually. And there we are. We now have a test tube with the increment lines on it. And what I'm going to do is put up numbers, the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 on my tubes. That's what I'm choosing to do. Whatever increments you want to do, however many you want to label, that would be up to you. We're back now, and what I've done is I've added my numbers to the vial. Numbers 10 through 60, all by increments of 10. Just a decision I decided to make. Anybody can do what they want for their numbers, or not even add numbers. Now the fun begins of adding whatever items you want into your vials. I'm going more with a witch's theme, so I'm going with things like what a witch would use in her brews. To add the product, sometimes it'll just go right in. Other times you have to make just kind of a makeshift funnel to be able to put your items in there easier. So we will just dump these ones in quick and hope it turns out. What I'm using here is a faux snow. Just happened to get it from the store. Figured it looks kind of like spider eggs. And what better thing for a witch to add to a brew than spider eggs? Can't really tell in the video probably, unless you get a little closer. They are little beads, little foam, styrofoam sort of beads. So it has a texture, I suppose, like a spider egg would have. To cap off these items, you could use things as a cork or maybe a pop cap, bottle cap, whatever. I happen to come across these bubble blower tubes from the same store as I got the candy tubes from. What I'll do is I'll just unscrew it. I already threw out the, or poured out the bubble solution. I might put away the tubes for maybe another project if I come up with something. And these wand sticks, they just pull right out, so that's kind of useful. Leaves me with a cap. Actually has threading on here that kind of holds on to the bottle or the test tube I have. And it's got these round tops where I'm going to be able to put a label on each test tube to label what is inside. They happen to fit very tightly, but for storage purposes, I would advise most people to glue whatever they're capping it off with on top. That way, if it tips to the side, gets bumped by something, you don't have your cap come off and all your product from inside your tubes pouring out into whatever storage unit you have for your Halloween or props. So, just a hint, I would adhere that to the top just to save yourself some headaches later on. Now that your test tubes are done and ready to be displayed, you're going to need something to hold on to them, keep them in place, and keep them all together and in a way that they will not spill. So what I did is I went out and got some scrap wood, and I decided to come up with a stand for my test tubes. A couple of them I cut. I have 4 test tubes, so each of these will work for holding them upright. I made some slots in a couple of pieces for those shelving pieces, the holders to slot into. I'll add some wood glue into these slots, which will hold those in and adhere it. It'll be pretty firm, it'll hold it up. And then just the base for it, a little bit longer than the shelves or the holders. So the slotted pieces will go upright like this, and each of these will slide in like so. Now if you're going to stain or leave your wood unstained, I would recommend using the same kind of wood. In this case I'm using cedar and pine. It just happened to be the scrap pieces that I had around at the time. But it doesn't matter because I plan to be painting this stand black, a flat black in fact, and I believe I'm going to go with a chalkboard paint. So it's going to be, it'll be flat. It'll be able to be, I guess, I'll be able to use a little bit of chalk on it, give it a little bit of detail, and make it look a little more aged with the chalk. Kind of like an antiquing, I suppose, but antiquing to chalkboard paint, black paint. Give it like a grayish tone in places. And on display, I'll probably do some cobwebbing, maybe some spiders and such, but for now, we will see how it holds up, how these slot in. They will be in whatever order looks best at the time. So they do slot in well, they hold up. I will have to glue it. Another thing I'll be doing is finding some labels for each of these to label what is in each vial. And the items I found are these eyeballs, which are going to be snake eyes. I found this candy, which is, it's called sour boogers is what it is. It's a candy I'm going to call toadworts or frogworts. These little skeleton figures I took apart, just cut off any extra pieces of plastic that didn't need to be there, and they'll be like gnome bones or fairy bones. And then again, the spider eggs, the styrofoam balls that I found. It's a faux snow. So yeah, that's the test tube vial with the holder. It's fairly cheap to build, fairly quick, fairly easy. Again, I will be finding some wood glue to go into these slots here, and I will most likely be brad nailing and wood gluing down here to hold the bottom together, then painting and doing a little antiquing to it, little detail touches with the webbing, and again the labels. And this project will be finished, and I can step on to the next project. If you like the video, if it was helpful, gave you some ideas for a new project, go ahead and comment below if you'd like, or share away to any other project people that would be interested in a panic prop such as this for a laboratory or witch's brew, Halloween haunt. Just to have around the house could be kind of fun too. So again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.